At this time, we're back. Eric DeSobe here, joined by Anoli. Anoli and I, we met, man, how many years ago might that have been? Almost 8, 9 years ago, probably, right?
Yes, yeah, right when I was going to start my principal fellowship. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're both educators, and I always enjoy being around folks who started schools and who are like at early stage points of a school's history. Give folks a little bit of the scoop on what your role was back when you and I met for the first time.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So I was an assistant principal at a middle school, and then in that year, in my first year, I was named to open up the elementary school, the second elementary school of the charter network. And so in my second year as an AP, I started the principal fellowship. I was in the planning year of a founding school, founding elementary school, and continuing work as an AP at a middle school. So it was a lot, many hats. Um, but yeah, very, very really exciting, really rewarding experience at my charter network. And writing, I got to write the charter with the team and go present it at the LUSD board. So it was a really, really amazing experience.
Yeah, and folks who had a chance to start a school or be at the ground floor of a school opening, it's probably not in some ways too much different than starting a business or being a founder of something, which is why I think your experience is so interesting. When you think of kind of hiring a team to do something or to start something for the first time, what kind of things did you prioritize as you were trying to figure out who to bring on your team for that first year?
Yeah, the first year was so I think the biggest thing that I could say for any business, any startup, anyone who's like you said, founding, is find people that align with your vision, your mission, your goals. But before you do that, it's very important to outline those very clearly for yourself. Really making sure that you are confident in what the vision is, the mission, how are you going to get there, what are the milestones, really clarifying that so that when you bring people on, your onboarding process begins in the interview, in a sense, where as I was starting to look for, okay, I need the instructional world, operational world, our special education world, all the different departments, you need the experience, and that's absolutely pertinent. But people who align with your vision, with your mission, how are we going to get there? It's a long road ahead. People who have the grit, people who have the time, because it takes a lot of time and effort and energy. So I think advice I got when I was starting off was do your best and hire the rest. And so that 80-20 mindset of be the leader, but also find people who you can lead and who can also be on the ground like with you side by side.
And then which questions in the interview process did you find most helpful, or which interview experiences did you find most helpful as you were deciding who to bring on or who to turn away?
Yes, so I love that question because so many times we go like as interviewers we go through the why and the theory and tell me about your, and all of that is important. But I would definitely say from my first year to my second year, the jump that I made was, let's get realistic. We are all here because we love children and we want to see impact, and we want to close the opportunity gap. Okay, how? Tell me an exact experience, an exact scenario that you've done in the past that shows your active work towards social justice or active work with closing the gap. And if they're a brand new teacher, tell me what you envision. Tell me what you see yourself doing. Another question also is what do you envision the first 30 days of your classroom looking like? Or if you again are hiring an AP or dean of operations or any role, what are your first 30 days? What's your vision for your role? Really getting them to speak on the reality behind their role versus the theory really helped me think about, okay, who's going to be the right fit, who also knows what they're speaking about in a sense, because so often you can go on the website and you can look at these, and get the buzzwords and all of that, and it's again, it's helpful to have someone who does the homework, but it's also, when I was looking at candidates, I was really looking for people who had that realistic sense of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And then also, I think characteristics that I was looking for were humility, people who can really say, like, you know what, this is what I want to do, and your vision is so broad and, oh my God, social justice focused, great. But how can we do that? What can we do? I'm not really sure. And having that humility to come forward and say, I want to do this work. I'm here for it.
Hmm.
Are you going to be able to guide me? Can you coach me? What does that look like? And having those pieces. So a lot of it was fit related. Um, Again, people who had that action oriented background, solutions focused, of those pieces, along with, of course, relationships and experience and the will behind it. Skill you can grow, but will, there's got to be some will there,
Hmm.
and if you look at the skill and will kind of quadrant matrix, that was a really helpful tool as well for me as I was going through candidates and kind of putting pieces and putting the team together. That was a really helpful tool.
One of the things that my boss has tasked me with for this upcoming year, and again, school year is about to start, so it gets a little bit quieter in my world, and we pick back up recruiting for already the next school year, usually by the late fall, is trying to figure out which questions would give you the most insight on if someone will essentially kind of like act a fool and do kind of like non-professional things in a workplace. And you think about in a school, most people assume teachers, but there's so many other humans in a school building.
Mm,
Oftentimes, those folks might be their first job. You think of like a special education assistant or an after-school instructor or a receptionist, maybe. Did you ever find you had questions that gave you good insight that people would actually be professional or not do HR violating actions later on, make good professional decisions? Or was that always kind of a thorn in your side? You never could quite figure out the best question set to predict the future if somebody would be a strong employee when you think about the actual
mm,
professionalism that's required.
mhm. Scenario based is huge, and also, in my principal fellowship, we had this activity as future principals that
Yeah.
we had to look at a whole one pager of this principal named Carl, and now it's just this idea of like, oh, Carl, and Carl had. It was like Monday morning, and he, got to the campus at 7 a.m. and he had all these things to do, and then there's kids here, and this fire was happening here, and parents were over here, and so what I did for each of my leadership team roles was I created a specific scenario and almost like a pressure test
Hmm.
where I throw out a bunch of fires, there's parent issues, there's a teacher, and there's all these different things happening. And then I ask them, what is the first thing you're going to do? Here's the Eisenhower matrix. What are you going to delegate? What are you going to schedule? What are you going to, and really have them take a red pen and mark up this whole scenario to see how your mind thinks about these specific
Hmm.
situations. That's one way. And then the other one was scenarios where, an irate parent comes in and is using vulgar language, or a student is, uh, you know, uh, coming toward you or charging at you, or these difficult situations, but situations that definitely come up. Really giving them those scenarios, but then almost using like the Haberman method of, okay, you do that solution or
Now
you
what
do that thing.
else?
What else? It doesn't work. What
Yeah.
else are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to do this, and I could try to talk. Okay, that also doesn't work. What else are you going to do? And really push them maybe 4 or 5 times, to see again, even in that moment, how they're going to handle. Wait, what I'm doing is not working. Okay, now I have to think of something else. And so again, almost again like a pressure test. Those started to kind of wean out the people who are again candidates who are more like theory based versus reality based, and then also people who immediately were like, oh, okay, well, I'd call the principal in. Okay, absolutely. There is going to be time where you're going to need to call the leader or the
On the
AP.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
But what are you going to do before that? How are you going to use your resources? What initiative do you have? Because we are a founding school. That means all of us
Right.
are going to wear all of these hats all the time. So it's kind of those pieces. I would definitely say scenario based and then like a full kind of like pressure test almost.
Yeah. Hey, last thing, AI was not as much a feature when you were launching your school. I was curious of all the things you mentioned that you did. What do you think you would find yourself changing now that AI is such a different factor, both for you as a hiring manager, but also for candidates who have access to it too?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've just started to use, AI slowly. If I were to go back now, what I would do is take my item bank of questions, maybe throw it in there and give it a prompt of like, my mission and vision and goals are these. These are my metrics, and really give it as many detailed prompts as possible, and then say, make my questions even that more specific, or to have to not attract, but to get candidates in who are gonna fit this in a sense, but also challenge and have that, because you also need a diverse team. You don't want everyone like minded, of course. So maybe that, and then as a candidate, yeah, that's a difficult one. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, AI can give you your responses and it can craft something so beautiful. But you, at the end of the day, as a candidate, are going to be the one speaking,
Yeah, do
are
it.
going to be the one showing your action. So I
Okay.
would maybe use it as a guide. But yeah, you're going to have to be the human behind the
Yeah.
responses.
You're gonna have to teach a kid at some point in time, and
Yeah.
there's no robot coming through that door. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, can folks find you on LinkedIn? What's the best way for folks to get connected with you and kind of to see what you're up to these days?
Yep, I'm on LinkedIn, Anoli Patel, and again, I love to just connect and even just have these conversations with like
Yeah.
new leaders, future leaders, even just teachers who are thinking again in this education world that's so different now,
Hmm.
of how can we really meet students where they are, take them further, even again school leaders who are struggling with strategic planning. Maybe they again have this big, large vision. That's what I struggled with. I had a huge vision that was very gray coming into my principal year, or my year zero, if you will. And then once I was able to figure out a success equation and really create a concrete strategic plan, that helped me find my team, make my milestones, what are my benchmarks, and then just backwards plan from there. So I would be happy to connect with anyone who would just like to share more and just network and just do the best, because I mean, we're all in this for the whole country, and eventually for the world. So global citizens for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, appreciate everyone listening. Really, thanks for coming on. You can, of course, find all the
absolutely.
past episodes, all the places you get your podcasts. We'll put the good info in the description, and you can catch us all the places you listen, but of course, catch us in Stunning 4K on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you soon.